My girlfriend told me she needed space to find herself, and I said, okay. Within the hour, I was standing in a phone store, changing the number I had carried for 9 years. 3 weeks later, she texted that number to tell me she missed me, and I never saw one word of it. We were together 4 years. I run the counter at a plumbing supply house, 6 in the morning until 4, contractors yelling order numbers at me all day. She waited tables at a sports bar 3 nights a week, and her whole crowd from high school still orbited that bar, and most of that crowd was men. That never bothered me at the start. She was fun. She was loud in a room, and she came home to me. For 3 years, that was enough for both of us. The distance came on slow, and then it came on all at once. She stopped answering on her afternoons off. I would call at noon and get a text at 10 that said, sorry, crazy day. 10 hours for a woman who had a key to my house. Then she started missing things. Her cousin's engagement dinner. She showed up 40 minutes late with a story about a dead car battery. And in the car afterward, she told me it was a work thing. And she never noticed she had told 2 different stories in one night. I noticed. I did not say anything yet, but I noticed. And there was always the group. Football on Sunday, the group. Somebody's birthday, the group. We would have plans on the calendar for a week, and at the last minute, there was a thing with the group she could not miss, and I would end up eating alone at a restaurant table set for 2. That happened 3 times before I stopped booking tables. The worst one was the concert. Her favorite band from when we first got together came through in the spring, and I bought the tickets in January. Good seats, a hotel room, the whole night planned. 2 days before the show, she told me her friend was going through something, and the group was getting together to support her, and she could not miss it. I asked, which friend? She gave me a first name I had never heard in 4 years, and then she got busy with her phone. I went to that concert by myself and stood next to her empty seat for 3 hours. The band played the song she used to sing in my car, and I stood there with 2 wristbands on one wrist. When I got home, there was one text from her. It said, how was it? 3 words at 1 in the morning from the woman the whole night was for. I still have the ticket stubs in a drawer, both of them, and I could not tell you why I kept them. My brother saw it before I did. He helped me put a fence in that spring, and halfway through the post holes, he stood up and said, do not bite my head off for this. He said, when her phone lights up, she turns it over. Every time, brother. Watch her hand. It moves before she even looks at the screen. I told him she just liked her privacy, and he gave me a thumbs up and went back to the post holes, and he did not bring it up again. He never needed to. From that day on, I watched her hand, and her hand did exactly what he said it did. Every time. In my living room, at my table, in my car. A hand that fast has had practice. My mother asked about her at Easter because she skipped it. Group thing. And I heard myself invent a stomach bug for a grown woman at a table full of people who loved me. That was the part I hated most when it was over. Not the lies she told me, the lies I told for her. My mother never bought a word of it, and she never said so either. Now the guy. There was one man in that group who never looked me in the eye, not once in 4 years. Tall guy, played ball in high school. I think he was a bartender. When I came around, he found somewhere else to stand. I took it as him being odd, and I left it alone. Then last spring, at a cookout, his own sister sat down next to me with a plate and said, I have to tell you, it is big of you, being this cool with the history. I said, what history? They dated 2 years, right out of high school, before me. Everybody in that group knew, and in 4 years, my girlfriend never said one word about it. I drove her home from that cookout and asked her point blank. She admitted it in the car like it was nothing, and then she got angry at me for asking. She said it was ancient history and I was being insecure, and I had embarrassed her in front of her friends by even bringing it up. I had not raised my voice once. That fight lasted 3 days, and it ended the way our fights always ended, with me apologizing to keep the peace for a thing she did. So, that was the picture going into summer. A girlfriend going silent, a group I was never invited into, and a man in that group who used to share her bed and could not look at me. Looking back, it was all right there in front of me. I explained every bit of it away because I loved her. The speech came on a Sunday afternoon in July. She sat me down, held both of my hands, and told me she loved me, but she was lost, and she needed space to find herself. She had it rehearsed. There were pauses in it where I was supposed to say things, and I did not say them. She said, "This is not a breakup, this is a pause, and I just need you to give me a little room to breathe." I looked at her for a second, and something in me settled all the way down. I said, "Okay, take all the room you need." She smiled and cried and hugged me, and she said, "Thank you for understanding, and I will call you when I am ready." She was gone by 4. At 4:40, I was at the phone store in the shopping plaza, and I told the kid behind the counter I wanted a new number. He asked if I was sure because I would lose the old one for good. 9 years I had that number. It was on my work badge and my bowling league sheet and 100 contractor contact lists. I said, "I am sure." It took him about 10 minutes. Then I sat in the parking lot and made the list. My mother, my brother, my boss, because the supply house texts the schedule, my best friend since trade school, the pharmacy, the dentist office, all the accounts that send codes to my phone. I switched every one of them that same night from the couch with a frozen pizza in the oven. 9 people got the new number, and she was not one of them. The same day I changed my number, I hit the hardware store for 2 deadbolts, and I put them on with a drill before the sun went down. It is my house, my name on the deed, and she had a key. I was not going to sit at work wondering if my door was opening. Her things fit in one tote by the closet door, and I packed it careful, folded, nothing thrown, because the anger was never at her sweaters. What I did was not anger. Anger burns off. It was a decision, and it felt like the right one the second it was done. She said she needed space to find herself. I gave her all the space there is. The first days were bad, and I had to confess that. I missed her at supper time, and I missed her worse at night. And twice, I typed out long messages I never sent, because there was no number on my end she could answer anymore, and sending them would have meant giving her the new one. I deleted them both and went to bed. My best friend from trade school showed up on the second night with wings and a case of beer, and he did not ask me how I was feeling. He asked me if the lawnmower still had the bad carburetor. We rebuilt it in my garage until midnight, mostly not talking, and that was the right medicine. On day 3, her sister texted my brother, asking why my number was disconnected. Not her, her sister. She had told her family I changed my number, which means she tried it within the first 3 days of her own space, and that told me everything about whose idea the space really was and what it was for. If she had called me on day 2 crying, saying she made a mistake, I probably would have folded. I can admit that now. The number change saved me from my soft heart, because by the time she got around to wanting me back, there was no fast lane left to reach me, and slow gave me time to heal. On the 4th morning, I woke up before the alarm, and the first thought in my head was not her. It was, the yard inventory counts are off at work, and I know why. That was the morning it turned. I had been half a man at that job for a year, and everybody knew it. Late twice a month, distracted at the counter, ordering wrong quantities because my head was on a woman who was not answering her phone. Now the head was clear, and I put it to work. I fixed the inventory counts. I came in early and stayed late, not to hide from my life, but because I finally liked being good at something again. The gym came back too. 5 mornings a week before my shift, the same routine. I ran before I met her, and my clothes started fitting different by fall. I cooked on Sundays and lined the containers up in the fridge, and I slept with my phone in the other room because there was nobody left to wait up for. In September, her sister texted my brother one more time. One question: is he seeing anybody? My brother never answered, and I remember thinking, she is keeping tabs through the family, and the woman could have just been decent a year ago and saved everybody the trouble. In October, the owner called me into the office, and I figured somebody had complained about something. Instead, he told me the yard manager was retiring in the spring, and the job was mine if I wanted it, because the last 4 months were the best the counter had ever run. A raise, my weekends back, and a set of keys to the whole yard. I called my mother from the new number, and she cried a little, and so did I, if I am being honest about it. And then there was the woman in the front office. She runs the billing desk, been there 2 years, always steady, always kind to the drivers. The billing woman and I actually met over a mistake, months before the first lunch. A plumber came in swearing about a double charge, ready to take my head off, and she had already caught it, fixed it, and printed the proof before he finished yelling. She slid the paper across the counter and let me be the hero of it. We started taking lunch at the same time, and then on purpose at the same time. And in November, I asked her to dinner, and she said, "I was starting to think you would never ask." I told her the whole story on the second date, all of it, the group, the cookout, the phone store. She listened all the way through without touching her food. Then she said, "My ex did not ask for space. He just left, and at least that was honest." The day the promotion went through, the owner walked me out to the yard and put the gate keys in my hand in front of the morning crew, and the drivers honked every horn on the lot. One of the old-timers, a man who has been hauling pipe since before I was born, shook my hand and said, "About time you came back to us, kid." He knew. They all knew. A year of me walking around that place with my chest caved in, and they had all been pulling for me the whole time, and I never saw it until I came out the other side. I took the crew for barbecue that Friday, my treat, first paycheck at the new rate. I never forgot that. At the barbecue, the old-timer stood up with his sweet tea and said to the kid, who finally got his head out of the pipe rack. The woman from the front office came too, and she sat across from me, and she laughed out loud at the old-timer's stories. And driving home that night, I realized I had not checked my phone once the entire dinner. 4 years with a woman who kept me staring at a phone, and 1 dinner with a woman who made me forget I had one. Now, what she was doing all that time. I never went looking for it, but my best friend's wife bartends 2 shifts a week at that same sports bar, and she saw all of it. 12 days after the space speech, my girlfriend was at the lake for a whole weekend with the group. The tall guy drove her. By the end of summer, the 2 of them were a couple in the open, sitting on the same side of the booth at the bar where she worked. And nobody in that group acted surprised because nobody in that group was surprised. I do not actually know when it started, and I am not going to stand here and swear she cheated while we were together. I just know what I watched for a year: the missed plans, the 10-hour text delays, the man who could not look at me. I know she never told me they dated until his sister spilled it. And I know that 12 days after asking me for room to breathe, she was breathing just fine at the lake with him. The 2 of them lasted into the winter, and then it went bad, and it went bad, loud, and that is when she remembered my number. The old one was gone, reassigned to some stranger who never wrote back. My social media had been quiet for about a year. The only door left was the real one, the one on the front of my house. As for the blow-up at the tall guy's place, the story that came back through the bar was short and ugly. She wanted him to be me. She started asking him where he was at night and who was texting him, and he laughed at her in front of the group and told her she knew exactly who he was when she chose him. Her bags were on his lawn by morning. The group chose him because it was his group first. The bar shifts went next. She was back in her old bedroom at her mother's place, and the one person from her old life she wanted to call had a number she could not get. She knocked on a Saturday morning in January. I was lacing my shoes for the gym when I opened the door, and there she was, thinner than I remembered, holding a coffee for me from the place by my work. Like 8 months was 8 days. She said, "Hi." I did not say anything, and she took that as an invitation to give the second rehearsed speech of our relationship right there on the porch. She said she made a mistake. She said the space showed her what really mattered, and that everything she went looking for she already had, and it was standing right in front of her. She looked past me into the house while she talked, and I watched her eyes stop on the shoe rack, on a pair of running shoes that were not her size, sitting where her boots used to go. Her speech lost its place for a second. She said, "I tried to call you and your number," and then she stopped because there was nothing she could say about the number that did not admit how long she had waited to use it. Then she reached out to hand me the coffee. I did not take it, and I let her have it. I said, "You did not want space. You wanted a head start." I said, "You kept him in your pocket for a year while I sat at restaurant tables alone, and the day I finally handed you the door you had been looking for, it took you 12 days to walk through it with him." I said, "You did not lose the group or the bar or him. You lost the one man who booked the table, showed up early, and waited." She was crying harder by then and saying my name and telling me that people make mistakes. And I said the last thing I have ever said to her. I said, "I am not even angry anymore. There is a woman in my life now who has never once made me wait, and I have not thought about you since fall. Do not ever come near me again." I closed the door, and I heard her car leave, and I went to the gym, and I had the best work out of my whole year. That night, the billing woman came over with takeout, and I told her about the porch before she got her coat off, because I learned my lesson about keeping things from people. She listened. Then she said, "Did you at least take the coffee?" And I laughed harder than I had in 2 years, and the food went cold, and neither one of us cared. That was 7 months ago. The woman from the front office and I are still together, and this fall we are driving up the coast for her birthday, first real vacation I have taken in 6 years. She books the restaurants now, and she has never once left me sitting at a table, and I have stopped bracing for it, which took longer than I want to admit. My brother finally said, "I told you so" at a cookout this summer one time with a grin, and I gave him that one free of charge because he earned it. I never heard from my ex again after the porch. Her mother mailed me a birthday card in the spring with a note inside that said, "You were always good to her." I did not write back, but I did not throw it away either, because her mother was never the one who hurt me. The phone in my pocket buzzes maybe 6 times a day now. Work, my brother, my mother, her, every name that lights it up is somebody I want to hear from, and there are still only 9 people on that list, and every one of them earned their spot. This one was a joy to narrate, only because when she wanted space, he gave it to her. He didn't simp, and the crazy thing is, as soon as she left, he got his number changed. You really don't need to do that, but in some cases, that might help you heal faster, because if you just block her, you might be tempted to unblock her and conversate with her again. But kudos to him. And I'll say this again. If someone wants out of the relationship, accommodate them. Open the door for them. Don't ever let someone put you on a shelf to try to come back to you later. You move on with your life at 100 miles an hour and don't slow down. See you in the next one.